Footy season, it's back. It's going to be bigger. And I think this is the most exciting football season we've had in a long period of time because there are so many teams that I think are going to be really, really even across the entire competition from first to third. I think they're going to be a little bit ahead of the pack, but anywhere from third to 10th, very even positioning. I think that it's going to be this year. And there are a lot of teams that are going to be very competitive. And I think that makes it a really good year. So without further ado, let's get into my season predictions of what I think is going to happen this year. Now, I'm not going to do a ladder prediction. That'll be another video. But there are 3 teams who I think can win the premiership this year. Geelong, Melbourne, Brisbane. And of those 3, I think the Lions are going to get it done. The reason? Well, they just seem like they've got the right mix. Lockie Neal even said on Captain's Day in an interview that we don't need any more recruits. And you got to look at who they brought in. Will Ashcroft, a ready-made midfielder to come into your team with youth and enthusiasm. Huge. Josh Dunkley, a mid-centre forward who is a contested ball beast and can do it all in front of goal and can kick goals and go forward and do that job as well. And the third player who is very underrated, Jack Gunston. He normally has played for the last 8 years as the first tall forward, really, in the Hawthorn lineup. And now he's got the opportunity to be the third tall alongside Danaher and Hipwood. Last time he was the third tall, he had Buddy and Ruff back in 2013. And geez, he had a pretty good grand final that year. If he replicates anywhere near that form, I think Brisbane are the team to beat. And if we flip to the other side of the coin and look at the wooden spoon, I think the club that Jack Gunston left, the Hawks, are going to be the team that win the wooden spoon this year or, finish last on the ladder this season. The reason I think that, obviously they've lost a couple of key components and senior players in their midfield, Tom Mitchell, Jaeger O'Meara, which obviously makes it a challenge. And then they just seem like they are going through this rebuild from rock bottom, and it could get worse before it gets better for the Hawks. So this year they'll have a lot of youth, they'll show some signs, but I don't think they're obviously going to put it together for a long period of the season, and they're going to have a struggling sort of a year, the Hawks. So they'll finish bottom. Let's just stick with the ladder really quickly and go a couple of teams who I think are going to jump up a little bit on the ladder. I think Carlton is the obvious choice for a lot of people. Curnow and Mackay, if they have a proper season together, they are primed to have a really good year, and the Blues could launch into that top 8, possibly into the top 4. But that is obviously determined on whether or not they can have a good fit year. If Sam Walsh is fit, if Cripps plays, if the forwards work together nicely, then they'll be good. And I think the other one will be GWS. I mean, Adelaide is there as well. Adelaide's probably the one other team with Port who could make the jump into finals. But I think GWS is going to be very competitive as well this year. They'll upset a couple of finals contenders, and they'll certainly do much better than what they did last season, which I think was bottom 6. And even if they are still bottom 6, they'll be much more competitive against the top end of the competition than they were last year. So on the rise, Carlton, the Giants, and the Crows as well. With people going up, there's also teams going down, and I think the Pies, they're going to go down, but not a lot. Obviously, they made the top 4, winning 9 close games last year that were decided under 2 goals. We know that that's not going to happen again this year, and if it does, power to the Pies. But I think that they're going to slip down the ladder a little bit and be in that lower echelon of the 8, because there is, as I said, there's already 3 teams there that I think are capable of winning the flag above and beyond everyone else. But I think Collingwood are going to dip, and I think Fremantle as well. They're a bit of an unknown this year. With obviously Nat Fyfe will be playing as one of their more key forwards. They really still don't have that strong forward presence. Alex Pearce is the new captain. He's great down back. But we just don't know what we're going to get from Fremantle. They were sort of the tale of 2 halves last year. First half of the season, they were great, dipped off towards the back end, and obviously their demise was at Collingwood's hands in the final series anyway. So I think they're going to slip down a little bit and could miss the 8. But what about the Brownlow Medal? Who is going to be the top midfielder of the competition? And is there a chance that anyone else will get it? I saw a bold declaration that Tom Papley was going to bring the Brownlow. I think that was Ben Dixon earlier on last week on the Fox Footy season launch. But I'm going for midfielders as well. I think Tuke Miller's going to be up there. He's going to miss the first game of the season, possibly the first 2 games of the season. But as for the Brownlow, I'm going for a traditional midfielder. I think Tuke Miller is going to be up there for the Gold Coast Suns. Probably didn't poll as well as he should have last season. Maybe now the umpires have a little bit more understanding that he is a very good player. He'll get a bit more votes. And the other one who I think is probably my favourite to win the Brownlow Medal is Marcus Bontempelli. The reason for that, the Dogs, they got a lot of tall forwards. They're going to need someone to distribute to those guys. I think Bont is the man to do it, especially losing Dunkley out of the midfield. He's going to have a lot more star power on him, and losing Hunter as well to take away votes from him. And be another accumulator. I think Bont is just going to shine, and the Dogs could still make the finals this year, and Bont, I think, is the big chance to win the Brownlow Medal. But who's going to kick the most goals? We've got a number of key forwards in the mix that could potentially do it. Obviously, the Carlton tag team, the Geelong tag team of Cameron and Hawkins. You've got Mackay and Curnow at the Blues. You've got Dan McStay coming into Collingwood, going to play that sort of 15 to 30 metres out from goal sort of a role. Could he kick a big bag of goals this season? Remember, we've got an extra game this year. We're going to see more goals kicked than ever. And I'm actually going to go for Tom Lynch from the Tigers. I know a bit biased, I'm a Richmond supporter, but he did kick the most goals per game last year. I think he's only primed to have a better year this year. Had a proper pre-season. Rewalt sort of a little bit more on the out, so it is going to be more Tom Lynch heavy, I feel. And he could kick a lot of goals this year. And Charlie Curnow's the other one who I've got neck and neck with Tommy Lynch. He's primed to explode, and he is really finally going to have the first season after a relatively injury uninterrupted year that he had last year. I think he's only going to get bigger and better this year, and lots of people are speculating he could kick 100 goals. So Charlie Curnow and Tommy Lynch, they're my two for the Coleman, but Tommy Lynch, we'll lock that in as the guess. And then you've got the young guys. We already spoke about Brisbane possibly winning the flag. They've got, obviously, Will Ashcroft came in. Father-son was picked number 2 in the draft last year, next to Aaron Cadman, who was number 1. And as we've already seen in the preseason games, he's going to be an absolute gun in the midfield. So whether or not he can play that and maintain that through the entire season, to be determined. Obviously, as we said, longer season this year, so you're going to have a little bit of extra endurance. But Will Ashcroft, the obvious favourite. And then we saw Finn Callaghan as well from the GWS Giants, another player who could win the Rising Star. He's not in his first year of football, but he'd still be eligible for the Rising Star, having only played a handful of games prior to this season. So I think he's one to watch, and he's actually the guy who I'm going to pick to win the Rising Star this year, because I feel like the Ashcroft's too obvious. So let's go Finn Callaghan from GWS to win the Rising Star this year. And now that I've got the major awards out of there, let's chuck a few fun ones in here. A few fun predictions for the season. First one is, are we going to see a Tasmanian team, or at least have confirmation of a Tasmanian team before the end of the year? I think so. Gill's last stand as CEO of the AFL is to sort out Tasmania. And I don't think he will leave until we have confirmation that, yes, Tasmania have a team and they will be coming in 2025 or 2026. It won't be obviously next year, but I think we'll have confirmation that, yes, Tasmania will be coming. There's the funding for the stadium. That, I think, is going to be all done and dusted by the end of the season. The next little prediction here is Gather Round. Will it be a success? Yes, I think so. I will be going. I know many people are going. Let me know in the comments if you are as well. And obviously, lots of people will be going to Adelaide to watch Gather Round. There's 9 games of footy all in the one city. I'll be going to, I think, 4 games across 3 days, and then coming back to Sunday before all the last couple of finishes. And I think next year, this is my prediction for Gather Round. It's not about Gather Round this year. It's all about next year. Gather Round next year will be in New South Wales. Because I thought about it. I go, will they do it in Perth? And then I thought, no, they won't. They'll do it in Sydney. Sydney has 1 million grounds, and it'll obviously really piss off the NRL if they did that, because obviously the NRL is everywhere in Sydney, and you get a lot of people to be watching good AFL teams in Sydney. I mean, they've already got a really good one in the Sydney Swans and the GWS Giants. They're on the march, but you're going to get really big Victorian crowds and other interstate teams crowds into Sydney for Gather Round, I reckon, next year. So I think that's my prediction. Gather Round in New South Wales next year. And the final one of my fun little predictions here is, who will be the grand final entertainment this year? And this is obviously a really early guess, But I was like, who could we possibly get? Because you got to think of the AFL. They're going to want someone that is a relatively household name to not necessarily young people, but to older people as well. So I was like, well, Harry Styles just had a really big tour here. So he's probably ruled out. He's probably just a little bit before the time of the generation. Could Robbie Williams go back-to-back years? He does have a tour in November, so possible chance that he'll be in town earlier to do the grand final. That's what I was thinking. Ed Sheeran obviously just played 2 massive shows at the MCG, 105 and 108,000 people across the 2 different nights, so he could make a return. You could go for someone like a Flume or a Kid Leroy, but I feel like they're almost too popular and too young and hip and with it that they're not going to want to do the AFL Grand Final. And the other one that is this is my pick for the Grand Final entertainment. You don't have to be happy about it. You can be happy, upset, whatever. Is Pink. The reason I say that, Pink is going to be doing a lot of touring near that time of year. Obviously, it'd be great promotion for her tour in Australia. And people in Australia, for whatever reason, they love Pink. And she's got some great hits. Even I've been to a Pink concert, surprisingly. So, you know, could Pink be the Grand Final entertainment? Obviously, there'd probably be a support act as well, or another act there with it. But I feel like that's the type of crowd you'd be thinking. You'd be thinking, oh yeah, let's get Pink for the AFL Grand Final. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. And that's my prediction. Pink will be a Grand Final entertainment in 2023. Anyway, that's it. That's it from me today. AFL Season 2023 predictions. I tried to keep this as short as I possibly could by smashing out as many little predictions as I could. So you got the major footy ones there, you got some fun ones in there. Let me know what you think is going to happen this year in the comments down below. Season starts this week, Thursday night, Richmond Carlton. I will be there. I cannot wait for the footy to start. It's just such an exciting time of year, isn't it, to get the footy underway. So that's happening. See you then. Enjoy. Bye. Bye for now.